Welcome in, my friends. 5 minutes with Sean, maybe 10. We are kicking off July. Today is a very special day for me personally. Today marks the 19th anniversary of the wedding to my beautiful wife, and it's kind of the catalyst for today's show, which is the power of relationships. And so, a little bit of background, origin story on me. I've been a long time sort of addict to a lesser extent and a greater extent at some points. And today, the power of relationships is what I want to talk about. So the first relationship is the one I've already mentioned. My wife and I have been together 23 years, married for 19 of them. And in that time, our relationship has transformed me as a human being into, I would say, the best version of myself. And without it, I wonder if I'm even walking on this planet. When I met my wife, I was in the throes of alcoholism. I had bought my first house when I was 20 years old. It had led to being in the car business, having a house, having money, having these things, sort of abusing things along the way. It was part of the deal. And when I met her, she was someone who wasn't into those things and didn't party and didn't understand the way of that world. And so basically, I'd had a wild night, came home, and she was like, "Look, I really like hanging out with you, but this is not something that I want to do long term." And so I thought, my goodness, then I'll just stop. And so I quit the whole drinking thing cold turkey, right on the spot. Went about 6 months sober, and at that time I said, "Look, I enjoy the taste of a drink here and there, but I think I can manage myself." And that was 23 years ago, 22 and a half years ago. And so that part of it, that part of the relationship, watching her kind of deal with me and see that really opened my eyes to what happens when someone's really in it for the long haul. Her and I moved in together after months of dating. We moved up and rooted our lives and moved 1,000 miles away after less than a year. And so, we had, our relationship is sort of what we invested in. We had joked the first night we had met, we should run away to Vegas and get married. Turns out we would have been right, and would have been a lot less headaches probably. But it's not something that I take lightly, our relationship, because I see how it changes me, and I see how it has allowed me to be, as I said, the best version of me. But that relationship, you see, is it's a building block to allow for other relationships. So her being the number one relationship and absolutely the best idea or best decision, not idea, best decision I ever made was asking her to marry me and her agreeing. There's no question, no doubt. But again, our relationship has evolved. It's changed over the years. It's just her and I, right? We don't have kids. We have the business. So ultimately, there's a kid in there somewhere. But that's the part of it, right? Is because of our relationship, it gave me the stability and the ability to say, "Hey, let's go do this. Let's go try this." And actually, CarBiz was her idea, frankly. She saw that I was unhappy in corporate world after months of doing it. And so she was the one that really pushed me and said, "Look, I know you have it in you. I know you know what you want to do. Just go out and do it." And then that relationship took me to another longstanding relationship, was that of my business partner, someone I've known since I was the age of 13 years old. We both just turned 45 this year. So we're talking 32 years of knowing one another. And that relationship we're like brothers at times, man, right? We'll argue, we'll sort of bicker back and forth, we'll have those moments, but the majority of it, we're running downhill with the same goal in mind: staying out of the corporate world, staying employed with each other, with our organization, doing this whole thing together. But he's someone that was the first person came to mind when I was thinking about starting a company. Even when I was thinking about going back to retail, I would have brought him in as an operations director, which strikes people as weird because he doesn't know anything about the car business. But they said the same thing to me 13 years ago when I brought him in to do this with me. I was like, "Well, what does he know about the car business?" Nothing, which is what makes him beautiful for the job. And again, his job is logistics. His job is reporting. His job is organization. His job is the back end. Not a lot of people see every single day. The production of this show, getting the show online, getting clips, getting whatever, getting up on YouTube. It doesn't matter. The point is, so much happens behind the scenes, and those relationships are what make them possible. That ability to have the trust and the know that the person you're working with on the other side of this will take you there. And so, in the beginning, all I really had to worry about with him was getting him in and understanding the car business. And to this day, he'll still tell you it's the craziest thing he's ever seen in his life. He comes from corporate America. And he just, every time we talk about something, he go, oh, man, it's only in the car business. And he's not wrong. But follow me here on the relationship stacking, right? So I have this relationship at the core with my wife that allows me to move on. Then I get my business partner who, again, allows me to be me. I don't have to think a lot when I deal with him. I can just say things, he can interpret, we can move on. It wasn't always that easy because we were getting started, but 13 years into it, it's almost like another part of my brain. So that relationship has allowed us to start the business, right? So those two stack up, and then we make the relationship with our organization via Tom Zimbrick and Kendall Dahman. Those two guys saw something in us and created a relationship with us that is now 13 years in the making, okay? 13 years in the making, and I was actually just fortunate enough to be in the room with Tom and Kendall, and Tom had said to me, it's still amazing after all these years that you're finding ways to continually help my organization get better. And I said, man, it's been 13. He stopped, Kendall stopped, we all stopped, look at each other. Holy shit, really? And yes, really, this is what happens when things click, when things make sense, those relationships. So, but all of those relationships coming together, blending into one, have allowed to make other relationships, right? And the power of relationships and the power of stacking those relationships together is incredible. It's incredible. I wouldn't be anywhere possible in this life if it weren't for my wife. Then this business wouldn't be anywhere possible if it wasn't for my wife and my business partner. And we wouldn't have been here 13 years and been successful if it wasn't for my wife, my business partner, and our first client. Now, granted, all the clients along the way have been absolutely outstanding partners to have and relationships to build, right? But as I get older, I notice something. I don't have a lot of exterior non-business relationships. And I wonder why. I do. I wonder out loud to myself a lot. Why is that? A lot of it comes back to the fact that I just go all in with the ones I got, which doesn't always allow me to get a lot of other ones, frankly. I sort of live isolated. I live out in the middle of nowhere. I don't do a lot of public things that would allow me to meet people in that way. And then automotively, I'm full of relationships and friends, but as I said, business related. And in talking to my dad tells me that as you get older, your circle gets smaller anyways. And so I don't feel as bad, but I certainly do wonder because I watch friends of mine, family members of mine have very, very wide growing circles, it seems, and mine only seems to be getting smaller. But for me, it isn't about the volume of relationship at all. It's about the quality every single time. Give me quality over any type of volume. And so I know we got a little mushy today. We got maybe even a little mental health Monday on you today. But this day always makes me think of the greatest relationship I could have ever asked for. And so, my love, I love you. Thank you so much for putting up with me, for pushing me, and for being in my life. I couldn't do it without you. And I couldn't do it without all of you. Thank you so much for joining us this week and every other week that you've come on and enjoyed the show. It's something that we continue to do. Some days I wonder if I need to continue to do it, but I enjoy it, and it gives me a place to say what I have to say. So that's all for me this week. Go out, enjoy yourselves, enjoy what is probably a very hot week where you are, and come back next week, have some fun with me all over again. All right? Thanks a lot. Enjoy your week.